You get plenty of coverage of Oklahoma State football. You think you hear all the noise coming from Gallagher-Iba Arena when you get your Cowboy basketball news. But you don't.
You just don't get it, Weird. You don't.
And there's a couple of Jordans here to fix just that. This is the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast.
This could be a podcast. Anyone with a computer can make one.
Here are your hosts, Jordan Keene and Jordan Bishop.
Welcome into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Jordan King, Jordan Bishop with you. And this is episode 14, Jordan. And we made it past lucky episode 13, so we're doing great.
Yeah, I don't think it was very lucky for us because it was the bracket selection show, and mine's not doing very well. It's like, what, 13% or something like that. your runner-up lost in the first round.
Yeah,
so.
I'm beating you right now, but it's not a good beating you because, you know,
we're both fair.
It's not great. It's not great for either of us on any account. So there you go. Yeah, we did have episode 13. Here's 14, and we'll get into plenty, including a golf recap. And they got their first win. And then coming up middle of the episode, we just got back from the Michael and Ann Greenwood Tennis Center and did a great job interviewing. I don't know why I just gave ourselves a pat on the back for interviewing, but I thought we did a great job interviewing Sofia Blanco, and that was fun. That was a good interview, and I got my soccer fix for the week.
Yeah, I think our interviews are not to downplay you or myself, but I think they're kind of what people tune and listen to because they've been really good interviews so far that we've gotten each guest each week. That we've had a guest, and I really have enjoyed getting to see the insight and actually get to learn a little bit about what goes on with the student athletes and the coaches.
Yeah, and if you're just here for the interview, I don't blame you, but I think we bring enough value to keep you company here for the rest of the podcast. So episode 14 getting going right now, and a big weekend for the Cowgirl softball team. Pardon me, big weekend for tennis as well. We'll talk about that coming up, but starting with softball, you get started in Big 12 play. You outscore your opponent 30-31 or 33, whatever it was.
Yeah.
To 5.
Yeah.
And you would think that means sweep, right? And it meant 2-1 for this team because you lose 2-1 on Saturday. So a little bit disappointing in the second game, but still you got to feel pretty good about the weekend that was after, again, this Tulsa team that is just pesky is able to beat you in the midweek.
Yeah, and this is a conference series that I think you look back at, you want to sweep, especially with how you performed that first game with 21 runs, which is a school record. I think they tied it. It's the 5th time they've ever done that. And I think it was great for them to get that kind of confidence because they hadn't been swinging the bat very well the past couple of weeks. The Tulsa game, they only had one hit, and that came with Sam Shaw in the 6th inning. So I think that was good for them. And I talked to Taylor Lynch a little bit at media availability the other day, and she said they watched a lot of videos and talked all about being the hammer instead of the nail. And they definitely were that first game. Second game, they were getting the bats and the ball in the second game. They just were hitting it right to the other team, and that's not a recipe for success at all. And go out and do what you need to do and win that series on Sunday, which is big for them because they didn't hang their head. Because if you lost that series, you're definitely out of the running for a Big 12 championship. The thing is with this league, Oklahoma has had a stranglehold on it the past couple of years, and they only lose 1 or maybe even 0 games. So if you lose any more than the one game you have right now, you're getting in danger of just having a tie with OU if you get a series win or just losing again and becoming second place. Yeah,
in second place, not like that's a bad goal for this team. Oklahoma obviously going to be one of those teams that is right up there when it's all said and done on the national level. So bringing up the Big 12 standings here, Oklahoma is obviously number 1, tied with Texas right now. Give the edge to Oklahoma based on overall standings. They're number 2 in both polls. Texas creeps into the top 10 in both polls. We'll get to that coming up because that is, obviously has bearing on Oklahoma State as they come in here to Stillwater this weekend. Oklahoma State sits in 3rd. I don't think you can be too unhappy with that. They would be in 3rd place even if they swept.
No.
But, a sweep would have been nice, and I think you kind of said that. Baylor in third or in fourth, where we expect them to kind of finish. Them and Texas Tech going to kind of duke it out, and Texas Tech in sixth right now, just simply based on the fact they drew OU in the first weekend, and then Iowa State cleaned up on by Texas.
Yeah, I don't want to eat my own words here, but I think, like I said all year long, Texas Tech, I mean, they're having a resurgent season. I think that that was their first real test, though, this weekend, and it was at home in Lubbock against OU, and they still got waxed in all three games. I think that shows that maybe they aren't as good as everybody thought they were. I mean, they're getting better, and they'll be a tough test for the Cowgirls later on in the season, but I do think that maybe they aren't, a Big 12 contender like everybody thought they were going into last weekend.
Well, and we're either going to find out a couple things. We're either going to find out that Texas Tech was a pretender or that OU is, again, an incredibly scary team headed through this season. I think it's a mixture of both. But the thing about Texas Tech that does, gives me some hope that they are kind of that next tier down below Oklahoma State is the fact that on the same field against the Memphis team, that's one of the two non-conference losses for Texas Tech. So they were 27-2 through non-conference, brilliant. But you kind of worry or wonder, I guess, about their strength of schedule and if it's something that, can compare to what they're going to see in the Big 12. So that is a big question mark. Looking ahead, you obviously have Texas coming in here. This is going to be a series that's crucial. And like I said in the last podcast, this schedule shakes out in a very friendly way for Oklahoma State. So you get the likes of Texas, OU, the majority of the series, Texas Tech coming and playing here. So you got to take advantage of this, and I don't think this is a series you're ever going to go in, even if you get to this, to the heights of a Texas consistently year after year. You're never going to go into a series with Texas, whether it's home or on the road, and expect to sweep it. Yeah. But I think it's reasonable to expect this team to get 2 out of 3. Because you're going to see Shaw circle for 2 different games, you would assume. Mm-hmm. You're going to see her batting all 3 games. And Clakeley's been pretty good in the other role. It looks like we're going to see Simonek just kind of used out of the bullpen is what it seems like we're headed towards. She's being pitched
so far a lot right now in the Wichita State game.
Yeah, so we are watching the Wichita State game. There she just hit her second batter of the ball game. But we'll if it's done beforehand, I'll switch this up and add a score to this up next graphic. But tonight they're playing at Wichita State, currently ahead 7-6. So Bat's kind of continuing staying woke, I guess, to use the terms the kids use nowadays. But again, getting back to this weekend, top 10 team coming into your place, high RPI team. This is one that if you're able to get 2, you're all of a sudden going to vault yourself into a very comfortable spot to where you would be hosting a regional if you don't. If you just continue playing solid throughout the year.
And the good thing for them as well is that it's going to be on national TV. All 3 games, and so that will show, if they do get a sweep, that'll show a lot of the voters who might not otherwise get a chance to watch Cowgirl softball, that when it does come time around to say where we have a regional site, they say, well, we saw them sweep Texas at home on TV. So that might be a thing that they can use to their advantage. Definitely won't hurt being on national TV. This team, though, talked a little bit yesterday with Coach Gayeski about it. Their coach is the former Oregon coach. He brought a lot of his players down there. So it's basically like playing the Oregon of old, even though you already beat the actual Oregon this year. You're playing a lot of the former Oregon players from their successful teams from the past couple of seasons.
Including a national champions or a College World Series team.
Yeah. So it's a very different Texas than you've seen in previous years. They have a pitcher, I think her name is Elish, who can pitch and hit just like Samantha Shaw does. I think she has a better average, honestly. And so she'll prove some problems. But, it should be a pretty good series at Cowgirl Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I'm looking forward to being there. You're going to be there all weekend long as well. So it's something I think we're both really excited for, and one that brings a unique test, I guess. And Elish named Pitcher of the Week by the NFCA, so the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. I believe she had a no-hitter, against Iowa State. So, again, whatever, Iowa State. But just a one-hitter against Lipscomb as well. So, there you go. 2 games, she gave up 1 hit. She's going to be someone that you're going to have to kind of keep your eyes on when you're talking about Texas rolling into town. And hopefully you're coming off of a win. Again, you get out of that fifth inning up in Wichita State and lead it 7-6, headed to the sixth inning. Move on here, recapping tennis. Cowgirl Tennis was on the road this weekend. Something that we talked with CY about was, trying to make sure that you can keep the momentum that you do have right now going, and they were able to do that. 7-0 and 6-1. So now you've gone 6-1, 6-1, 7-0, 6-1 in conference play. You got to feel pretty good about where you're at.
Yeah, that was just a dominant showing what they did over the weekend, and we learned that they are playing out all these matches this year in the Big 12, all 7 matches, just something the conference decided on. So, but that helps out though your number 1s and 2s who might not get to play as long if you just have to cap at 4, like they've done in previous years. And so we're obviously seeing that they're playing well and they're playing their best as well. So I think getting that road trip out of the way, come back home. Obviously, you've won 9 straight matches. I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good right now. Stay at 8th in the ITA poll. I wish they get better respect in the USTA poll, which I'm a voter in. They came in at number 13 this week, which I think that's too low for them. But I think that they're a team that overall is, playing the best of their tennis right now and still hope to play even better come postseason.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about the quality of this team, right? I think we all knew what it was. It was just kind of a case of getting things going, and they finally did get things going, and they look like a really dangerous team right now, one that I think is going to compete on the national level. So I'm looking forward to seeing the last half of the Big 12 season for this Cowgirl Tennis team, and I think everyone else is as well. So speaking of tennis, we had Cowgirl Tennis senior Sofia Blanco on the podcast, and this was a fun interview, especially for me. She's from Argentina. I really enjoy soccer. Sounds like she loves soccer, and it was a fun conversation. I got to ask her a few questions about some of the World Cup and how it's like over there, how far away America is. She was kind of humble about it. I think I read into it by saying that America's nowhere near it, which I knew, but she was nice about it. But it was a tremendously fun podcast. Had a ton of fun recording it. What's one thing that stuck out from you? Maybe you're not quite as big a soccer guy as I am, so maybe Bish probably tuned out. No, I'm just kidding. But what was one thing you thought was kind of interesting from our conversation with Sofia Blanco?
Yeah, one thing that stuck out to me is obviously, she's very intelligent, as you see on the graphic.
Yeah.
With all of her honors. And I think that was interesting to hear about her, all the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff she does at the classroom, and how she talks about it's kind of not recognized doing well down in Argentina, and here it's recognized by getting all conference honors, all American. So that's really cool to her. And she walked us through, a lot of the classwork she does, and it's very interesting to see kind of what these athletes do, because they are student athletes, to see what they are working on as well in terms of what they want to do with their careers.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. She exemplifies what a student athlete is. That's the one thing I took away from it. And I thought it was kind of interesting, her research project that she did.
Yeah.
So I won't tell people what it is. They'll have to listen in to hear what it is. But that was a very fascinating research project that she did. So hopefully people listen in and continue listening in and stick around for that part of the interview as well. So here is our interview with Sofia Blanco from the Michael and Ann Greenwood Tennis Center here on the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Jordan, and now joined by Sofia Blanco. And thanks for joining us. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
Thank you for having me.
And Cowgirl Tennis, and you guys have had a great stretch here. And we talked to Coach Young last week, and he says this is a stretch that he kind of compared to past seasons that were very successful. What do you think the ceiling for this team is? How good can you guys be?
Well, I think we don't have a limit. If we play good and we focus on our game, I think this team has a huge potential. Everyone is in a good moment right now. Everyone is feeling more confident on the court, and I think that's showing on the results. And I think we're in a good position right now in Big 12. That's our big goal right now. So I think this team can accomplish great things.
Overall, some things that you guys tried to work on and get better at was doubles, and you guys have been really solid on that doubles point. And part of that is you and some of the, you're an All-American doubles player, and that's something I think is a goal for you this year too. Talk about the kind of transformation for this team with doubles.
Yeah, I think the doubles is a a huge point. Like it really makes a difference in a match. So we have been working a lot. I think everyone is doing a great job playing with whoever needs to play. I'm switching with Catherine and Lisa, and so like I'm trying my best to adjust to that and try to help the team the best I can. So I think we're doing a really good job with doubles, like being aggressive and trying to play our game. So I think that made the difference, like from the beginning of the season to now.
How do you have to keep from, you play with one teammate and then another one? How do you have to adjust so quickly on the fly to do with Lisa and Catherine?
Yeah, well, I really like playing doubles. It's my favorite thing. So especially since I'm switching sides, because with Lisa I play in the forehand side and with Catherine I play in backhand side. So I think playing with Bloody last year in the forehand side helped me a lot to strengthen that side. But like my backhand side is kind of my favorite side, so that like balance it out. And I think Catherine and Lisa have like different play styles, but I think I'm adjusting good and trying to help each of them the best I can so we can win that point.
You and Vladi had such good chemistry together. How is it for you this year? You had to come in with two different partners. I know Lisa was here last year, but she didn't play. But how was it having to adjust to both of them at the beginning of the year, and how do you feel comfortable with them right now in the season?
Yeah, I think that's where we do a good job on practice. Practice with all the teams. We are rotating all the time. So I think that helped me to adjust from playing from Vladi, that we know each other and we play a lot of matches together, to now that I'm rotating with different partners. But I think I like to play with like different people because that challenged me and makes me a better player too. So I think that's a very good idea from coaches to keep like rotating teams and try to make the best for the team.
You've been you were the couple-time Big 12 All-Academic team, Academic All-American last year. I think it's 3 years straight or 4 years straight, 4.0. I mean, talk about the academic side of sports and how hard it is to juggle playing and being successful on the court, being successful in the classroom. What's that juggle like?
Yeah, the girls will say I'm a nerd. I really like the academic part. I did my honors thesis last semester, so I finished with that. I have only one honors class left. So yeah, I really like the academic part, and I put a lot of effort on that. And I think like if you manage your time well, you can accomplish both. Like for me, it's putting a lot of effort into studying when we are on trips and everything. It's not easy. Being a student athlete is hard, I'm not gonna lie. But I think if you put passion on both things, you can accomplish both and you can balance it out. And I think that's what we have here. It's like a really good support in the academic part too. We have tutors, advisors, and people that really care about what you do and help you out to perform your best.
What's it like when you get rewarded for that? When you get an academic All-American, stuff like that? Is that just take me through that? Like, what's that like?
I mean, it feels great because, like, for example, in my country, in Argentina, like, you don't get recognized for the academic part that much. So I think, like, it's a good way, like, for here, like, people, like, value your effort. So I think that's really good and push you to continue to try your best in everything you do, Like, I think that's I think that I really like a lot about America is that they, I don't know, like, when you put effort on something, they really value that. So I think with the academic part, with the tennis part, like, it's always good to feel like rewarded,
With you mentioned you did your honors thesis. What's kind of the realm of jobs you want to work for? What's kind of your major right now?
Yeah, my major is psychology, and I have minors in human resources management and management. So I would really like to combine the sports side and like the industrial side, like work for companies and do all the coaching, motivation, and all that. My thesis was on student athletes motivation, so especially how to motivate those people that they don't get time to compete. So those that are sitting on the bench and practice every day and put a lot of effort, but they don't get time to compete. So I did a really cool survey to all the OSU student athletes. So I think that was like a really good thing for me because like I was able to read a lot about things I like, and I like that gave me like a platform to know what I want to to do in the future. And I actually got accepted into a master's, so I'm planning to do that in the future.
What did you learn whenever you're doing those interviews for that thesis about what really drives student athletes?
Well, yeah, I really learned about like how we have people that have high levels of motivation and even people with scholarships. So we have a lot of athletes that have like a really high levels of intrinsic motivation, and they're like have their inner drive like to get better. But we have athletes that they're also like not have a lot of motivation right now. So I think that's something to look at, and for coaches and even like teammates or everything, like be aware of those people that are putting effort and they are not getting time to compete, and how we can help them to become better and find that extra motivation that maybe that's going to make the difference to start competing, you know?
Yeah. I'm kind of going to turn the tables. What motivates you as a competitor, as stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I always have that intrinsic motivation. I really like what I do, so for me it's easy to come to the court and find that motivation. The same happened with the studies, you know, like it's something I like, so I put my effort on it. But I think right now, especially playing college, I learned to play for my teammates, and I think that's my biggest motivation. Like even when I became All-American, I did it for like Bloody. Like my goal was like to get the All-American for Bloody, because that was the only thing that she had left like to accomplish. So I think that putting that goal to something bigger than yourself and putting that goal for others, that's what helped me the most to become better, you know?
Yeah, we asked Coach this last week and mentioned that you're playing for something bigger than yourself when you play college tennis. And that's kind of the hard thing in this sport, is that a lot of players want to just go play pro. So what's, your reason, if you were seeing a high schooler, if you were going back to Argentina and seeing somebody, for them to say, why you want to go to college instead of just go pro? Yeah. What's kind of your reason?
Well, before coming to college, I played pro for a long time. Like since I was like 15 until like I was 19, kind of. I play a lot, and I can tell you, there is no like you cannot compare one to the other. Like playing for your teammates and having those people like play next to you is something that you cannot compare. Like for me, when I was traveling alone, playing pro, and you have to do everything for yourself, like winning doesn't feel the same way that winning here. So I think that's the biggest difference. And we play an individual sport, but I think that team side like is what I like the most.
Go ahead.
What kind of culture do you think Coach Young and what do you think? Where do you see this program headed under the guidance of Coach Young? Obviously he's brought it a long way. Where do you think he can take this program?
Oh, I think this is one of the things I like the most about OSU is like the culture of the program. I think Chris makes such a good job bringing people that can bring something new to the culture, and I think that's like he shows how much he cares about this program. He accepts people from all all countries. Like some teams, they don't have that, and we have people from everywhere. And I think he does such a good job to really caring about people, and I think he values that, like the person before anything else. So I think that shows in the culture, because all the people that come here, they really care for the program. And so our fans, and we have, we have John Smith come to talk to us today. How big is that? Like have a person such as like the biggest ever come to talk to you after the nationals and how busy wrestling was. I think that shows how big of a culture Chris built here, because he cares about this program a lot and he puts everything on it.
How neat is that to you, that I know you still have half a season left to play, but you're a senior, and looking back on that, you're a part of this culture that Chris has built and that you can look back on in 20 years and realize you're a part of something like this?
Yeah, I never thought I was going to play college and play for a team and teammates, but I honestly can say I'm the proudest cowgirl out there. Like I really love this team, and I really love OSU. So I think like when I will look back 20 years from now, like these 4 years have been the greatest of my life. I had so much fun. Even like the first year when I wasn't playing because I had to sit out for a year. I learned so much from my teammates and from being outside, and I got to experience it like kind of from outside. So when it was my turn, I was really wanted to play, and represent Cowgirl Tennis. And I think, I mean, there is not better experience than playing athletics for OSU.
In that first year, you mentioned obviously there's so many different cultures on this team, and he recruits from all over the country, all over the world. What's that like coming in here from Argentina and kind of getting to see how are the people, what walks of life they come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like you leave your family, your home, and everything behind, and you come here and you don't know much about college. Like for me, especially in Argentina, it wasn't like a common thing to come here. Now it's getting more common. Like more people are coming, but when I came, I was one of like the first one out there, so I didn't know much about college tennis. But I think I don't know. Like this group is such a big family that the moment you come, it's like you feel part of something else. So it's not like you're coming to study and you don't know anyone. I feel like even when you know the girls like 2 weeks, it's like, oh, you're my sister, like I know you for like, I cannot believe I only know some of them for like one semester, like for Tammy and the new girls and Bunji and all those girls. It feels like I know them forever, and that's what this program makes a good job. It's like making you feel part of a family.
So you mentioned you're from Argentina. I'm a big soccer guy, so we talked about this. I got to ask you. So a couple questions. First of all, I'm gonna bring up some bad memories maybe, but where were you? Were you back in Argentina back in 2014 during the World Cup final? And what was that like?
Yeah, well, in Argentina when we are playing the World Cup, everything stops. The whole world stops. So on the streets, like, it's completely empty. If you are like in school, all the like you watch the game in school. Like I was at home with my family. Like I'm a big soccer fan, and so I was like with my dad, my mom, my sisters, and we have this big screen. So everyone comes to my house, and yeah, it was very sad. I was crying there, but it was such a good World Cup. I cannot tell you how much I screamed in the semifinals, like because we won in penalties, and oh my God, it was crazy.
Throughout the whole run, what is the buzz around Argentina when that's happening?
Oh no, you cannot imagine. People go crazy. Like they go to the streets after the match to celebrate. Everyone like screaming. I actually have a video of like the past World Cup singing like with my cousins on the street. It was very fun.
Is there anything that you've experienced in America sporting event wise that compares to the World Cup? Because this is an argument I get into with sports fans all the time.
Well, soccer is crazy every single time. My soccer team there is called River Plate. I don't know if you heard about it. I'm a huge River fan. So even like last year in December, like it was November, we played a big final. A really big final, and I was here and I was watching and screaming on my apartment. So so it's crazy, and the stadiums, like when your soccer team plays, is a party. Like it's a big thing.
How proud does it make you on the world stage knowing that, in my opinion, one of the greatest players of all time in Diego Maradona, and then Leo Messi, obviously, in my opinion, better than Ronaldo, but we won't have that conversation. So
I can talk about Messi for hours. I'm such a Messi fan. Like me and my dad, actually my dad watched every Barcelona game because we are such a Messi fan. So I will be here and I will get videos of Messi's goals. Yeah. So that's how big of a deal it is.
When you see you mentioned you're a big soccer fan. How far does America have to go to get on the level with the rest of the world, do you think?
United States?
Yeah.
Well, you guys have such a good team in women's. Like,
that's true.
It's amazing. And we don't have a good team of women's because it's like such a different like sport for girls and guys in Argentina. But I don't know much about soccer in guys in America. But I think you guys have the resources and everything to make it good.
That tells you how far they have to go. They've got a little ways
I'm
to go.
sorry.
No, that's okay. That proves my point.
I mean, we have a good soccer team here, girls. So the girls are making a good job.
There's no doubt about it.
I'm going to the games because I have to. But I'm passionate, so I have to go there. My suggestion is that we have to come up with songs for them, because like I go there like and I want to sing, and so we have to.
What is your favorite chant from your river? What is your favorite?
I have so many, and probably they say bad words, so I'm not gonna sing it.
What's the biggest rivalry for them?
Boca.
Boca. Okay.
Boca Juniors. Yeah. So.
And what's the past history? What's the recent history been? Have you been on top, or has it been?
We won 3-1, like the final. It was against our biggest rival, and it was such a big drama in Argentina that we couldn't play it. So we had to go to Real Madrid Stadium to play the final.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about that. And we won 3-1 on the.
Congratulations.
So yeah, I still get videos about that.
With soccer obviously being so big down there, what was it like going into the kind of the lesser sport in tennis growing up, and how was that doing that, not being one of the popular ones and doing the popular soccer?
Yeah, well, for girls, like, if you're a guy, you play soccer or rugby, and if you're a girl, usually you play hockey, so more like team sports, like field hockey. But for me, I started playing tennis when I was 4. So I was doing like a summer camp thing, and they say, we're going to start tennis. And I guess I was hitting the ball good because the pro there told my parents, hey, she's paying a lot of attention, and like she's really into it for being a 4-year-old, you know. And since then, like, I never stop. So I don't know, like, I think for me it was like I had such a good support from my parents, and I was like, when I was growing up, there were a lot of Argentinian tennis players, mostly guys, but I was looking up to them, you know, and I always like went my own path, and like I really like what I was doing, so I didn't pay attention to the other sports. Like, I'm a big soccer fan and I love to watch, but I love to play tennis. So I actually love to play all the sports, but tennis is my favorite. Yeah.
What's that like? And we asked this to everybody's come on here, and the success of women's sports the past decade, but women's tennis especially has become so big across the world. What's it like being a part of this game at this time in history where it's the biggest it's ever been?
Yeah, it's amazing. And you look at those girls, and they're such well-prepared athletes, you know, and like I think that's the biggest difference now from maybe before is like tennis players are athletes, you know, and like they practice and they work out and they do everything as hard as guys. So I think that's really showing on the circuit. Like, the women's are really good, and like the level is insane. Like, it's so fun to watch and so fast. And I think right now, like, college tennis also has a great level, and I think it's a really, really good platform for girls to come here, play matches in a really good level, and then go to the pro circuit, you know.
If there was ever one major you'd love to play in, Wimbledon, Australian Open, Roland Garros, and where would you want to play? I
think the French Open, it will be my favorite, yeah. I always play clay, and when I was growing up, I really didn't play much hardcore before coming to college, but yeah, red clay is my favorite.
Jordan?
Anything else?
I don't think we have anything.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much again for joining us, and hopefully in the next World Cup, Argentina makes a little bit better of a performance.
Yes, please.
And hopefully the USA actually qualifies for the next World Cup. So
I really want us to win the Big 12 and national championship. I'm more concerned about that.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, there you go. And that's a shout out.
And you're on the right track for it. Haven't lost a match yet in the conference play. So we have 2 big matches this weekend, Baylor and Texas. So.
Yep.
So very good. Good luck the rest of the way, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
So there you go, and Jordan and Jordan will be right back to finish up the podcast after this. Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Jordan and Jordan here to finish up the podcast, and thanks again to Sofia for joining us. That was, again, a fantastic interview. Yeah, she interviewed or sent out research questionnaires to fellow student athletes and learned some things about that. And hopefully she can maybe, sounded like she had some questions about how coaches, deal with student athletes and stuff like that. So maybe she can be an agent for change. I know she said that that's part of what she wants to get into. So that's all really exciting as well. So, by the way, quick update here. We are, as I said, watching this Oklahoma State-Wichita State game live, and Michaela Richburg just smoked one off the foul pole over there in left field. She, wow, this was hit a long, long ways and barely stayed fair, but this was a fun one to watch.
Yeah. 9-6 now in the sixth inning, so Wichita, that'd be a big win for them, like we were talking about just before the interview. If they get this, and then obviously going to Texas this weekend, huge week for the Cowgirls.
Not perfect on the mound tonight by any means. Not perfect in the field tonight. We saw Maddie Sue Montgomery. She's had a couple errors recently, so hopefully you'd expect that to be something she cleans up. And if she can, and the rest of the team can, we saw an error from Cheyenne Factor out in the right as well. So they clean up some of this stuff, they're going to be in really good shape. But getting back to the tennis side of things, coming off our interview with Sofia, they are back home, and a lot of Texas this weekend for the Oklahoma State Cowgirls in tennis and in softball. We talked about softball already, but Sunday going to have a match showdown of a couple really highly ranked teams in Oklahoma State and Texas. Yeah,
Texas is the top team in the Big 12 right now. I mean, they're the team that everybody's looking up to, the top 5. So they're a team that you got to be playing your best against. And I think that's a good thing what the Cowgirls have done over the past month and a half is they are playing their best and they're getting better each match. And I think Baylor, not to downplay Baylor by any means, but when you look at these teams and you see one with 5 by their name and one with nothing, you kind of have to downplay them a little bit in your mind. I think that this could be a good warm-up, if you want to say, with Baylor. If any conference match can be a warm-up, I know they're all hard, but Baylor, I think, would definitely be the less difficult of the two matches this weekend. So get through Baylor, get you warmed up, and that maybe playing against tennis, get one out there at home, be huge for the Cowgirls, because then they'd be number 1.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So let me ask you this. What do you think, and maybe this is something we should have or should at some point ask Coach Young. They did a phenomenal job last week to take those two teams that probably not quite as highly ranked in Iowa State and Wichita State, West Virginia, easily dispatch of them. Now you got Baylor, but you have Texas right there. I mean, it's 2 days later.
Classic trap game.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So how do you not look past this Baylor Bears team? Because I mean, yes, it's Big 12 conference play. It's a game that you want to get motivated for because it's Baylor, and we know it's a tough conference game. It's a Big 12 game, but knowing that you have Texas in a couple days, there's got to be a little bit of a mindset that you look forward a little bit, and you hope that's not the case, but there's always that danger, right?
Yeah, there's always that danger with any sport. But I think that we talked to Coach Young about it last week. They do a good job at just keeping focused on each singular opponent and not getting too ahead of themselves. I think they're going to do the same thing this weekend. We talked with Sofia. Obviously, you heard about the culture that Chris has built there, and that's part of the culture is not getting too high on themselves. They're very humble. So I think that they won't overlook Baylor at all, and get a win there on Friday, and then go into Sunday and hopefully get a win there and jump up a lot in the polls, I would say, and especially in the national perception of the program.
Yeah, you would certainly hope so, and hopefully the rest of the tennis voters like yourself start to respect.
I'm trying.
Hey,
I'm trying.
I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying the other people like you that just no respect for the Cowgirls.
I know.
No respect for CY's crew. Equestrian. This is kind of a big week for them.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen, of course, since we've started this podcast, they've really done a good job. And I might be undefeated since we started the podcast,
I think
honestly.
So. Yeah.
But we know that throughout the season, they have been dynamite at home. That's where the Big 12 championship is. And over the course of a couple days coming up this weekend, 29th and 30th, they're going to ply their trade at home, a newly covered arena, and I think everyone is excited. I've seen clips on Instagram, I've seen clips on Facebook, on Twitter. I mean, all social media is blowing up about what's going on over there with the equestrian team. They're going to welcome in the other two Big 12 teams in TCU and Baylor, try to sneak out a Big 12 championship, and all three of these, the pressure's not really on. You want to win a Big 12 championship, but all three of these teams should get into the national tournament. So that's obviously weighing on your mind too. If nothing else, you want to have a couple good performances here before you head to the national tournament.
Yeah, I know they had their senior night a couple of weeks ago, but this technically is their senior night now that you have it here. And then nationals are in Waco, I believe, where Baylor is. And I think that, with the way they're riding right now, they, just like you talked with the tennis team, they were just feeling some confidence. They feel like I don't remember the last time they lost, honestly, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So the way they're riding right now, they got to be feeling pretty good. They got to be feeling that maybe I've seen their account tweet out some stuff, because I think 3 years ago they won the national championship, that maybe they could be back to those vibes again. So I'm hoping that after this weekend I talked to Brady Moore, the SID for the equestrian team. Hopefully we can have Coach Larry Sanchez on next week. That'd be nice. Yeah. And he can talk to us and preview nationals a bit.
Yeah, it should be good. And hopefully when we talk to him, we're also breaking down what happened to take them a Big 12 championship as well. So, again, the second half of the year, whether it coincides with the podcast or not, I'm not really sure. But, they have been phenomenal in the second half of the year, and particularly at home. They've been phenomenal, and that's all year long. That goes back to the fall. They've been great at home. So, in Stillwater, this is a formidable opponent, or a formidable team, not opponent. They've been great. So hopefully that continues this weekend. To me, they have to go in as the favorite. They're not the 1 seed. Baylor, I believe, is the 1 seed, but they have to be the favorites here because
they're probably the one that's coming in with the most momentum, the hottest team right now.
Yeah, and to me, if you're talking about a team that has not lost at home, the Big 12 Conference Championships are at home. You have to, there's no way that they aren't the favorites. So hopefully I didn't just jinx them, knock on everything that is wood, but hopefully Equestrian takes care of business. Finally, I miss, after, hopping on, making everyone freak out because they thought they missed something, and I talked about SMU OSU for Cowgirl Soccer a little early, a couple weeks ago. I can finally talk about this and be correct about it. SMU Oklahoma State is coming up this weekend, and 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. I'm thrilled with this start time because it fits perfectly into the schedule. Go over to Neil Patterson Stadium, take in this OSU SMU game, and then thanks to ESPN2 coming into town, what would normally I would assume be an afternoon game at Cowgirl Stadium for softball is now going to be a 7 or 7:30 start, and that works out perfectly. Fits perfectly right in my schedule, so I'll get some afternoon soccer, some nighttime softball, and cover Cowgirl sports all day. I'm looking forward to Saturday. I am really looking forward. I haven't gotten to get out to Neil Patterson just based on how my schedule shook out the first 2 games, so SMU rolls into town. This is a Division I, highly thought of program that comes in here, and I'm really excited to see what this team looks like in spring.
Yeah, and this be the first time you've seen them since last fall. Have you seen them at all?
And yeah, I did catch a couple games last fall. One when I was in town, incidentally enough, interviewing with Triple Play. So caught a few of them and just caught some highlights online for the other ones. But this was a team that down the stretch, what we remember of this team, not good. And I think Coach Carmichael would be the first to say that. It was just kind of freak accidents, right? Yeah. You had injuries to like your top 5 players. Outside of you had Kim Rodriguez stay relatively healthy. A couple of your other kind of defensive players stayed healthy, and that's why you were in so many games. You weren't giving up any goals. You were struggling to score them because Haley Woodard was out for a while. I think Gracie Oakham was out for a while. You were dealing with a freak.
JC Jones was getting
yeah,
hurt,
yeah, JC Jones as well. So you're just dealing with a rash of injuries, and that's the way it goes sometimes. So hopefully they don't suffer the same injury bug. I don't know if there's anything you can necessarily do about that. It's just kind of a freak thing that happens. So I'm excited. It's soccer weather out there right now. You're talking 60s, and I hope that's what it is this weekend. I hope we don't deal with any snow or anything like that rolling in.
Please go away wintertime. It's springtime now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I'll try to look up the weather here quick. And Saturday 51, so might be a little chilly, but hopefully storms, stuff like that stays away, and it's a good weekend for soccer, softball alike. So looking forward to that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, Cowgirl Golf, they got off the schneid a little bit.
Yeah.
Win their first tournament out there in Hawaii. And, again, we kind of talked about it. It wasn't like the greatest competition. Second place team was Arkansas State, so that kind of tells you the competition they were facing. But you still got to go out there and golf, right? You still got to go out there and perform.
Yeah, it's got to feel good that to win a tournament. It's their first one they've won all year. Obviously, they've been playing in such hard tournaments throughout the beginning of the year against a lot of top-tier blue blood teams. That's nice to go down there, especially in Hawaii over spring break, and get that done, and get that done so handily. They won by, 23 or 21 strokes, something like that?
I think it was 26 strokes.
26 strokes. So to have that happen and to play the way they did, that's going to be good confidence-wise because, like we've mentioned time and time again, it's a very young team. So to actually feel like, hey, I can win, and we can win, and what feeling like winning as a team feels like, because a lot of these players don't know how winning as a team in college feels like. They have that feeling now. It gets back to being tough here in a couple of weeks, and they go in their next tournament, but at least you have something to build off of now that, hey, we can win this tournament, and we can move forward and have a little bit of momentum that we haven't had before.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So 216 won the individual title. That was Kaylee Shimizu. I think I'm pronouncing that right, from Utah Valley. She was even par, 72, 70, 74. So she almost gave it away at the end, going 2 over in that final round, but she ended up taking home the individual title. But you look at the three here. So top 4, you had the second place, you from Oklahoma State. You had Forsland and Bailey from Oklahoma State as well. Now Bailey was competing individually. Those are your top 3. And you look at it, Forsland's a junior, you as a freshman, and Bailey's a freshman. And I talked about this a little bit earlier on, probably on the I think it was on the podcast. Now that I think about it, this young team is still finding out how they're going to win ball games, win tournaments, right? I'm probably gonna edit that. No, I'm not in the business of editing out my mistakes.
Well, golf is a game.
See,
I play the ball. It's a ball game.
I'm looking up and getting distracted by these softball highlights that Wichita State's running. And by the way, we'll probably, I don't know if you want to, we could probably keep it here until this game's over.
7th inning. We could narrate what's going on here.
And probably just tell you what our thoughts are and kind of give you some more thoughts because I wanted to touch on a couple other things as far as Oklahoma State softball. So we'll probably just kind of shoot the crap here, shoot the breeze while we wait for this game to finish and then give some instant reaction. But these are young golfers that are learning how to win tournaments, learning how to perform at a high enough level for 3 consecutive days. And I think this was big just for confidence sake. But again, you look at some of the scores, 1 over, 6 over, 6 over, and then you start to understand why you get to 21 over, and you just hope you can get a little bit better. You won. You get the trophy. It goes down as a first place finish. You'd still I'm sure there's still some things that Coach Jones wants to fix up and make sure that they do a little bit better next time around.
Yeah, and we talk time and time again about this program, and everybody compares it to the men's side, and I think that's a little bit unfair because of obviously the men's side, what they've done. But the men's side had to start with these smaller tournaments as well. They didn't always succeed right out the bat. They had to start these smaller tournaments, get some wins, get some confidence going, and that's how you start building a tournament or building a program. And Coach Jones has had a good team. This is a bit of a rebuilding year with a lot of young players, but they made the tournament last year, made the NCAA tournament last year, and they're a team that I think if you give her enough time, they have a lot of promise, and they might get to being a team that makes makes the cut, makes the final, makes match play at one of these championships someday. Because if that happens, then they'll have made it. They definitely have the resources. She just has had the time.
Yeah,
man, barely got through that.
I think you're right about that. And that's part of building a program, right? There is, it's not just getting people. It's getting people and then putting them in your program as well, right? Because we can talk about the recruits. For example, let's talk relate it to a men's sport. We can talk about the recruits that Boynton's getting. Mm-hmm. Are this great freshman class, is that automatically are we going to see results from that this year?
No.
I don't know if you're going to, right? I think it's a process. It's something that happens over time. And do I think that there's a ton of talent and that if it's coached up properly, it could be potentially back to a national sort of relevance? Yeah, I do think that. I think it's the same thing we're looking at here with golf.
And you got to look at with golf, and the prime example is look at what Chris Young has done in tennis. When he got here, we talked about this last week. The Cowgirls were the stellar dweller of the league, and he had to build it from the ground up, and get it back into the limelight. And it took a lot of time, because it's the problem with tennis and golf and those kind of country club sports is that there's so few teams that have been so great all these years. Your Stanfords, your USCs, they always get those players. So why would anybody ever want to go anywhere else? Why would they want to go somewhere like Oklahoma State? Yeah, the men's team's good, but what's the women's team doing? So that's why you're always fighting against that, and it's hard to get recruits like that. And Chris Young has shown he can do it, and he's made Oklahoma State one of the premier names in women's tennis. And I think Courtney Jones is fighting against it right now, but she is getting some of these younger players and they have some talent, and she's hopefully getting some leverage here that she can go into somebody's house next year and say, hey, got these players. They say they're liking their time here at Carson Creek. Carson Creek's one of the preeminent golf courses in all of the country. Come here, and we can make you a better player.
Yeah, and that's the pitch that you hope they get.
Mm-hmm.
But then, once you get those players as well, there's another step to it. And we see some promise here. And it's just, the next step is making sure that you can develop them and make sure that they're still taking steps forward throughout their career here at Oklahoma State. So again, their final this is kind of crazy to say, their final regular season meet at the Arizona State Ping Invitational down in Tempe at Papago Golf Course down in Tempe, Arizona. So that's coming up actually this weekend, 29, 30, 31. They'll compete again. So back-to-back weekends, try to gain a little more momentum here. And
big goals to be in Broken Arrow this year.
Yeah, that's and I have a couple of buddies who have played the Golf Club of Oklahoma over there in Broken Arrow. Said it's a tremendous golf course. I wouldn't expect it not to be. Yeah. I think the Big 12 probably,
probably bet these places.
Yeah, they're gonna do their research, and then they'll figure out where they go for regionals if they make it to regionals, and then NCAA championships if they make it there are in Fayetteville, and I think we will have some Oklahoma State presence in Fayetteville. It may not be on the women's side, but we should have some Oklahoma State presence there. So wanted to finish that off with some golf talk. And we'll finish off, I guess, here as we wait for this to wrap up in Wichita, and barring a seventh inning collapse, we should see an Oklahoma State win, hopefully.
Yeah, they're up 9-6 right now with 2 outs. Runner on, looks like Riley Bayless.
Top 7. It's
yeah. Getting my numbers wrong.
No. I don't think we specified what half of the inning it was, so didn't want to mislead people and think it was almost over here. But yeah, so
Mason Montgomery's the plate.
What I wanted to ask you about this was, we saw a shift in the third inning. No, it was top of the fourth. I believe we saw Shao pinch run for.
Yes.
And that was the last we saw of her from this game.
Yes.
She did not come back in as a hitter or as a pitcher. When she got taken out, I immediately jumped to the conclusion. We saw Sprang start this game. Saw Simonek come in the game in relief. So I kind of expected Xiao to just naturally be the next one because that's what we've seen. We've seen her come in at some point in a lot of these close ball games. And as Maddie Sue Montgomery strikes out, they'll go to the bottom of 7. Wichita State needs 3 to continue playing. If they end up going to extras, I don't think we'll I don't think we'll stick around for that. But hopefully they do not. Here's my thing though: we haven't seen her. This is the first game where we've seen Coach Gajewski, and I don't know if this was intended, if this was his plan, or if this is just kind of a spur of the moment thing, to give Samantha Xiao some rest and say, you know what? It's time to go win a ball game without Samantha Xiao. Like, can you guys do it? And so far, so good. We've seen this team continue offensively. Michaela Richburg, we know that she's a dominant power hitter that can kind of, she can do it all. We saw her beat out kind of a fringe infield sort of a hit earlier on in the game.
And then had that home run.
Yeah, smashes one down the left field line. So she can do it in multiple different ways. I just wonder if this was kind of a message trying to be sent from Coach Gajewski, or if it was just simply let's get Samantha Xiao a blow and try to get her out of the ball game for 3 or 4 innings and see if we can't do something without her. And clearly they have, because they did take out Simonek, but instead of going to Xiao, went to Samantha Clakley.
Yeah, and maybe that's the Clakley some work ahead of Texas. I don't know. I still think Xiao's going to start that first game after we've seen all the weekend series so far. It's been Xiao's been that number 1 that Friday pitcher. I think it's a luxury that, and we talked a lot about this in preseason. I haven't really seen it a lot because obviously Xiao's been playing so well, of the depth they have. And you mentioned Michelle Richburg at first base. Sydney Springfield, a player who we haven't seen much from after that weekend opening series in Houston where she had the walk-off against Kentucky. But
made herself a superstar a little bit.
She's a player that comes in from LSU and has a lot of power. She's a power hitter. I think next year she's definitely going to be a starter at first, and you can maybe move Michaela to back to the outfield, and there's going to be some movement around second. Maddie Sue's going to graduate. But I think it's a luxury showing that you could use Michaela there, have Sydney come in. I think she's a designated player, and then have Riley Bayless come back to her natural position of third. And you have a good outfield. I think the one error we saw from Cheyenne Factor, she dropped a blue. I think that was an anomaly. So having Maddie Lohman be able to come in there and Chelsea Alexander, obviously, that's the luxury of the depth these Cowgirls have. And I think that helps out that if you take Samantha Xiao out, you still have somebody you can put in there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And Wichita State gets one on with a really terrific bunt that I thought hit her. If it did, it would have been a foul ball. But actually, she might have been out of the box, so it might have been an out. But nonetheless, she gets on. I think you bring up a good point, and obviously we won't talk about it now, but I think next year is going to be an interesting shift around. When you lose Maddie Sue, you lose Riley Bayless, so there's going to be some opportunities for some people to slide into some spots. So I think you make a good point with Springfield. I think you're going to see Richburg with no more Riley Bayless patrolling the outfield. That's going to be a more natural place for her. I think, naturally these positions are going to come open for some of these girls that are waiting for spots, just getting, kind of spot starts, if you will, just kind of bringing in. But we know that Springfield, we saw her pinch hit in this game. She almost smacked it over the fence. She hit it, about probably, what do you think, 6 inches away from being a homer?
Yeah, it was just a few inches short. It was basically, it would have been a ground rule double, if it would have just fell over.
Yeah. So I mean, this was she has proven that she can come cold off the bench and be a tremendous hitter. So hopefully that's something that she can continue and just kind of embrace that. And for the third time today, we see a double play. Third time since the fourth inning. We weren't watching before then, but the defense has cleaned up some of their own mistakes.
Yeah, I think Maxie's been listening to you, man.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And by the way, Kylie Naomi, Riley Bayless, who is playing third base right now, and Sydney Pennington. We've seen a ton of double plays turned by these guys or these girls, and they're just so smooth. And Kylie Naomi, I mean, she is a treat to watch. Right now, she hasn't made – I mean, knock on everything I would, because otherwise, now she's going to have like an 8-error weekend against Texas. But she is not making many errors right now. She's kind of gotten that out of whatever it was out of her system.
It's just the freshman jitters, I think.
Probably, yeah. And she's gotten that out of her system, and now she just jaw-dropping plays sometimes she makes. And when she's making the routine ones, she is a special player at shortstop. She's starting to get into a groove offensively. I think she could be tremendous over the next couple of years. But, man, this whole team, when it's rolling good, it's a fun team to watch.
Hey, you get to see the potential they have, and I think that showed. I mean, obviously you don't plan for that 22 runs. I mean, no one does. But you see the power they have, and you can see the team that Coach Gajewski was talking about in the offseason when he was going around saying to all these national outlets that this is a team that's going to beat Oklahoma City. You can see why he said that when you see them play like they were playing. And they've shown flashes of that. I mean, I'm always to the point that you don't want to be playing your best ball, whatever sport it is, until the postseason. I do think that Coach Gajewski hopes they're playing better or closer to their best ball, but they're getting better. They're defensive wise, though, they are playing the best I think he's seen so far. I mean, there has been some errors, like I mentioned, but that Tulsa game, they were playing really good in that one. It was just a 3-run shot that Blakely gave up after she pitched a gem of a game. That just happens. Not to swing it back and change anything. In this game, they've kind of bowed up when they needed to. So the defense has gotten better. And Washington, I'm going to say that, and they're going to give a grand slam.
Well, I mean, it's one of those where you look at the entire scheme of things, and we haven't seen this team play a complete game, I don't think, yet. I mean, we've seen very few. I shouldn't say that. We have. A couple of those games up in Oregon come to mind where you had pitching and hitting at the same time. You haven't played a perfect game yet, I don't think. And that's got to be frustrating to some of the girls, obviously, that you haven't played a perfect game yet. But I think the other side of it is it has to be exciting for both the players and for Coach Gajewski, knowing that, holy man, I mean, we've played some pretty good softball, and we haven't played perfect.
Yeah, and you got to realize that the strength of schedule they have, I think I heard Coach say that they were top 15, maybe 13, their strength of schedule this year, that even though they aren't playing their best, they would definitely be playing their best or complete game against lesser opponents. Also, you have to gauge the opponents they're playing. Wichita State's one of those teams. I mean, I know they're not having a year they had last year, obviously, and we got the last out right there, Riley Bayless and Michelle Richburg.
Guess who makes a WebGem SC Top 10 Twitter sensation play? Who but Riley Bayless at third base, getting that uniform dirty. I'm sure it already was dirty. She is she likes to get some dirt on the jersey. What a play by her though, diving right behind it looked like right behind the third base bag, and that was a long throw she had to make to complete. And
she was still on her knee, I think, when she threw that. So
arm
power,
strength, arm strength at 99 on MLB The Show.
yeah.
Well, Jordan, what is this? Let's just real quick instant reaction. What does this win mean?
9-6, and we saw most of this game. I think it shows obviously the heart you have, because they got down 6-3 at one point.
Would have been easy after a couple of errors to just say, you know what, it's not our night.
And they went out there and just kept playing and playing and playing, and I think that's what they're getting back to. At the beginning of the year, we talked about that Houston game earlier, or the game in Houston against Kentucky earlier, where Springfield hit that game winner, and that's what this game reminded me of a little bit. It wasn't exactly a walk-off, but it reminded me of that a little bit. And Coach talked about how you can put that in the bank. You can look back at that like, okay, if this ever happens, we can do this, and we can get out of this. Well, we haven't seen that in some of these losses. I mean, Ole Miss, kind of just had some stinkers there, and Coach will be the first to say that. This is a game that you can look back on and say, okay, we're back to where we're fighting for our team. No matter how far we get down, they were down 4-0 at one point, 6-3. They come back, and they win this game 9-6.
Yeah, so good on them. I mean, you respond with their 4 with 3. you respond with their 2, with another 4, you take the lead, get a couple insurance runs. I think that's how if you're going to give up 6 runs, that's probably how you draw it up, responding every half inning afterwards. So good on them, and I apologize to the listeners. We've gone over an hour, but in our defense, I think we would have been right there underneath an hour or pretty close before we just kind of recapped the softball game. So, Jordan, pleasure.
Yep,
Episode 14 in the books.
Yeah. Moving on, and hopefully next week we'll have Larry Sanchez on. Maybe we can go back to Cowgirl softball, get some players on there. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, never know. Sometimes we throw those bonus pods out there too. So people need to hit the subscribe button on either iTunes or Facebook. Not Facebook, Twitter or YouTube. Getting my social medias mixed up. That's what happens when there are 8 of them. But YouTube, Twitter, iTunes. Those are the best ways. Best ways to find the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Otherwise, tripleplaysportsradio.com. That also works too. So, Jordan, pleasure. Episode 14 in the books. Thanks again to Sofia Blanco for joining us as well. That was a terrific interview. If you skipped over it, I feel bad for you. Yep. You need to hit the rewind and scroll down to the comments or the description of the video, and click on Sofia Blanco interview. That'll take you right to that point in the episode, and you need to catch that because that was a terrific interview. So thanks again to her. Thanks to Jordan Bishop, my number 2 on the podcast. Well, he's really number 1. I just I'm the one that holds it together and make sure that we have the right equipment. So there you go. Jordan, pleasure. Episode 14 in the books. Cowgirl Coverage Podcast, Triple Play Sports Podcast Network.